March 7, Leviticus 27, verse 1 to verse 34. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and tell them, when someone makes a special vow to the Lord that involves the valuation of people, if the valuation concerns a male from 20 to 60 years old, your valuation is 50 silver shekels, measured by the standard sanctuary shekel. If the person is a female, your valuation is 30 shekels. If the person is from 5 to 20 years old, your valuation for a male is 20 shekels, and for a female, 10 shekels. If the person is from 1 month to 5 years old, your valuation for a male is 5 shekels, and your evaluation for a female, your evaluation is 3 shekels of silver. If the person is 60 years or more, your evaluation is 15 shekels for a male and 10 shekels for a female. But if one is too poor to pay the valuation, he must present the person before the priest, and the priest will set a value for him. The priest will set a value for him according to what the one making the vow can afford. If the vow involves one of the animals that may be brought as an offering to the Lord, any of these he gives to the Lord will be holy. He may not replace it or make a substitution for it, either good for bad or bad for good. But if he does substitute one animal for another, both that animal and its substitute will be holy. If the vow involves any of the unclean animals that may not be brought as an offering to the Lord, the animal must be presented before the priest. The priest will set its value. Whether high or low, the price will be set as the priest makes the evaluation for you. If the one who brought it decides to redeem it, he must add a fifth to the valuation. When a man consecrates his house as holy to the Lord, the priest will assess its value, whether high or low. The price will stand just as the priest assesses it. But if the one who consecrated his house redeems it, he must add a fifth of the valuation price, and it will be his. If a man consecrates to the Lord any part of the field that he possesses, your evaluation will be proportional to the seed needed to sow it, at the rate of 50 shekels for every 5 bushels of barley seed. If he consecrates his field during the year of Jubilee, the price will stand according to your evaluation. But if he consecrates his field after the Jubilee, the priest will calculate the price for him in proportion to the years left until the next Jubilee, so that your evaluation will be reduced. If the one who consecrated the field decides to redeem it, he must add a fifth to the valuation price, and the field will transfer back to him. But if he does not redeem the field, or if he has sold it to another man, it is no longer redeemable. When the field is released in the Jubilee, it will be holy to the Lord, like a field permanently set apart. It becomes the priest's property. If a person consecrates to the Lord a field he has purchased that is not part of his inherited landholding, then the priest will calculate for him the amount of the evaluation up to the year of Jubilee, and the person will pay the valuation on that day as a holy offering to the Lord. In the year of Jubilee, the field will return to the one he bought it from, the original owner. All your evaluations will be measured by the standard sanctuary shekel, 20 gerahs to the shekel. But no one can consecrate a firstborn of the livestock, whether animal, from the herd or flock, to the Lord, because a firstborn already belongs to the Lord. If it is one of the unclean livestock, it must be ransomed according to your value by adding a fifth of its value to it. If it is not redeemed, it can be sold according to your evaluation. Nothing that a man permanently sets apart to the Lord from all he owns, whether a person, an animal, or his inherited landholding, can be sold or redeemed. Everything set apart is especially holy to the Lord. No person who has been set apart for destruction is to be ransomed. He must be put to death. Every tenth of the land's produce, grain from the soil or fruit from the trees belongs to the Lord. It is holy to the Lord. If a man decides to redeem any part of this tenth, he must add 1/5 to its value. Every tenth animal from the herd or flock, which passes under the shepherd's rod, will be holy to the Lord. He is not to be inspect whether it is good or bad, and he is not to make a substitution for it. But if he does make a substitution, both the animal and its statue will be holy. They cannot be redeemed. These are the commands the Lord gave Moses for the Israelites on Mount Sinai. Psalm 31, verse 9 to 18. Be gracious to me, Lord, because I am in distress. My eyes are worn out from angry sorrow, my whole being as well. Indeed, my life is consumed with grief, and my years with groaning. My strength has failed because of my sinfulness, and my bones waste away. I am ridiculed by all my adversaries and even my neighbors. I am an object of dread to my acquaintances. Those who see me in the street run from me. I am forgotten, gone from memory. Like a dead person, like broken pottery, I have heard the gossip of many. Terror is on every side. When they conspired against me, they plotted to take my life. But I trust in you, Lord. I say, you are my God. The course of my life is in your power. Deliver me from the power of my enemies and from my persecutors. Show your favor to your servant. Save me by your faithful love. Lord, do not let me be disgraced when I call on you. Let the wicked be disgraced. Let them be silenced in Sheol. Let lying lips be quieted. They speak arrogantly against the righteous with pride and contempt. Proverbs 7, verse 9 to 12. At twilight, in the evening, in the dark of the night, a woman came to meet him, dressed like a prostitute, having a hidden agenda. She is loud and defiant. Her feet do not stay at home. Now in the street, now in the square, she lurks at every corner. Mark 9, verse 2 to 29. After 6 days, Jesus took Peter, James, and John and led them up on the high mountain by themselves to be alone. He was transformed in front of them, and his clothes became dazzling, extremely white, as no laundrier on earth could whiten them. Elijah appeared to them with Moses, and they were talking with Jesus. Then Peter said to Jesus, Rabbi, is it good for us to be here? Let us make 3 tabernacles, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah. Because he did not know what he should say, since they were terrified, a cloud appeared overshadowing them, and a voice came from the cloud. This is my beloved Son. Listen to him. Then suddenly looking around, they no longer saw anyone with them except Jesus alone. As they were coming down from the mountain, he ordered them to tell no one what they had seen until the Son of Man had risen from the dead. They kept this word to themselves, discussing what raising from the dead meant. Then they began to question him. Why do the scribes say that Elijah must come first? Elijah does come first and restores everything, he replied. How then is it written about the Son of Man that he must suffer many things and be treated with contempt? But I tell you that Elijah really has come, and they did to him whatever they wanted, just as it is written about him. When they come to the disciples, they saw a large crowd around them and scribes disputing with them. All of a sudden, when the whole crowd saw him, they were amazed and ran to greet him. Then he asked them, "What are you arguing with them about?" Out of the crowd, one man answered him, "Teacher, I brought my son to you. He has a spirit that makes him unable to speak. Wherever it seizes him, it throws him down and foams at the mouth, grinds his teeth, and becomes rigid. So I asked your disciples to drive it out, but they couldn't." He replied to them, You unbelieving generation, how long will I be with you? How long must I put up with you? Bring him to me." So they brought him to him. When the spirit saw him, it immediately convulsed the boy. He fell to the ground and rolled around, foaming at the mouth. "How long has this been happening to him?" Jesus asked his father. "From childhood," he said, "and many times it has thrown him into fire or water to destroy him. But if you can do anything, have compassion on us and help us." Then Jesus said to him, "If you can, everything is possible to the one who believes." Immediately the father of the boy cried out, "I do believe. Help my unbelief." When Jesus saw that a crowd was rapidly coming together, he rebuked the unclean spirit, saying to it, "You mute and deaf spirit, I command you, come out of him and never enter him again." Then it came out, shrieking and convulsing him violently. The boy became like a corpse, so that many said, "He's dead." But Jesus, taking him by the hand, raised him, and he stood up. After he went into a house, his disciples asked him privately, "Why couldn't we drive it out?" And he told them, this kind can come out by nothing but prayer.
Forced to face reality, how great is your goodness that you have stored up for those who fear you. Psalm 31 verse 19. Whenever we pray, we are to pray in accordance with God's will. One Greek scholar says that the words, "Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven," can be paraphrased in this way: your will, whatever you wish to happen, let it happen as on earth so in heaven. In other words, God, do what you want. It's not easy to pray this. If anyone thinks it is, then it is probably because they have never really sounded the true depths of self-interest within their own hearts. It's hard sometimes to pray, "Your will be done," when we know that if God has his way, we will not get our way. Has this difficulty ever presented itself to you? The basic reason for this conflict is due to the major problem of the human heart, self-certainness. Paul, when describing a self-certain life and its results in Romans 6 verse 21, ends by asking this question: what fruit was produced then from the things you are now ashamed of? The end was zero. That is the inevitable end of a self-centered life. Nothing. The major thing that stands in the way of God performing his will in our lives utterly and completely is just that, self-centeredness. Jesus knew, as we now do, that if we are to become effective in prayer, then we must face up to the question, whose will comes first, mine or God's? I must be willing to say, "God, do what you want." That is the bottom line in prayer. Prayer: gracious God, I am grateful for the gentle and loving way you are putting your finger on the obstacles in my life. Give me the attitude that puts your will first and my will second. For Jesus' sake, amen.